now we have a really great bus system, but only if you're a student or you live near the students or work near the students. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Everybody else is struggling to try to get to work in less than 3 to 4 hours. So, but really, looking at these other programs and all these other university cities, we have to start that conversation. And I've talked every other election, like you're never hearing this talk. Everybody just kind of worships University of Florida and like, oh, we have the University of Florida here. But the fact is, the university is contributing to the income inequality. Right now, we have OPS workers who are not making a living wage.
Right.
That's shameful for a university that has almost $2 billion endowment. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
It should be embarrassing. Okay, so we should be talking about this.
Right.
Their employees, the graduates, the graduate assistants. The graduate assistants are struggling to pay their bills. Okay, so the North Central Florida Central Labor Council, the GAU, the Graduate Assistants Union, is a part of that, and so I was endorsed by them, and all people who work for the university, I've been talking to a lot of people, and everybody's saying yes, it's time for UF to pay its fair share. And you hear some people saying, oh no, they'll never do it. They have to.
Right.
They have to. We are here, and so many people in Gainesville work for the University of Florida. It's time to get us off of those lists. We are on the top of the list for poor children's dental health care. We have a dental school at the University of Florida. How can we be on that list? How do they not care about that? So, let's start having that conversation. Let's start having the conversation and doing something about it.
Well, you cited the United Way study. Mm-hmm. It said, the 50%
Yes.
of our employed people here are living paycheck to paycheck. I wanted to ask you about not just the bus driver wages, but you want to improve the city wage too.
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
We are working towards, the city of Gainesville is working towards a living wage of $15 an hour.
Nice.
But the truth is, by the time we get there, it's going to need to be more.
Wow.
And there's studies. There's been studies that are supposed to be done, to see if we're on track, to bring up these wages. But why is it taking this long? Why is it taking this long? Why? Because it's obviously not a top priority. It's taking the work of some really dedicated activists to bring this to the commission's, bring it to the forefront. But we've already made the commitment to do it. Why isn't the study being done? Why are all these city employees, struggling to meet their basic needs? Our own city, but yet you have over 100 people making over $100,000
Wow.
for working in city government. And I understand some of these jobs, you maybe that's the going rate.
Right.
But over 100 people, and then you see that just in the last few years, how many people have come in at starting salaries at that. But yet you have people who've worked here for 15 years who are top down.
Yeah.
I've met with a lot of city workers, and they're seeing this. They're seeing people being brought in from the outside, where we could have just hired somebody who already knew how the city works, but instead they're bringing people from the outside with no experience, giving them top dollar, and then having to train them and teach them. And, are they even going to stay? When we have people who live here, we have people who love this city. This is an amazing city.
It is.
Let's get it working for everybody.
Right.
Let's get it working for everybody.
Well, there's also current loopholes that allow contractors.
Oh, yes.
So what do you plan on doing about that?
Okay, so what's interesting is I went to that the longest table event.
Okay.
And what they had at the longest table, they had a city employee or commissioner or somebody from the city sitting at every table. Well, I sat with somebody, and he basically was like, look, I'm probably going to move. And I was like, why? Why would you move? He's like, well, because there's no room for advancement for me. And then, I was telling him about my platform. He's like, well, what are you going to do about all the employees who are working for the city and they're employed by temp force? Okay, those are some of the loopholes. Okay,
Right.
we need to make sure that the contractors, people who the city hires to do work, are also following the living wage ordinance. The county's doing it. We can just look and see what the county's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing it. And ending the prison work crews. I know a
love
lot
that.
of people are like, come on, they really want to be outside, they really want to be working, but they were spending a lot of money for a very small number of prisoners. A very small number. I think it was like 15 people got to go and work outside. Well, you know what? Now that we've ended that, those jobs now get to go to people here in the city. The people in the county, those jobs, they basically put that money back into our city workers. And now all those activists that were working so hard to end those contracts, now they can focus on the real problem, and that's prison reform. We need. There are people sitting in prison right now who have no business being in prison.
Absolutely.
We have people, and you know what? It's never going to end as long as these things are profitable. And while they were contracting with cities and counties and using work, there was a CEO somewhere collecting a lot of money from that,
absolutely.
and the prisoners were not being paid. So I'm happy to see all these people who are now being able to work these jobs, and as we're moving towards that living wage, then maybe we will start to fix the problem. But we talk a lot about affordability in this city. And we cannot talk about building affordable housing, and we cannot talk about having affordable, utility bills if we are not addressing the real issue, and that's wages.
Yeah.
If the city of Gainesville raises wages, they're in turn raising the bar for other employees. And as we're hearing this conversation happening all over the country, and we're seeing entire states go to a $15 minimum wage, you're starting to see wages increase. So we can do that as a city. We can do that. Let's do the cities. Let's find out how we're going to make it happen soon.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, by 2022, the minimum wage is going to need to be a lot higher.
Right.
So.
Right. So they keep moving the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, I just wanted to state. I meant to mention it earlier. You plan on taking the lowest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so I made the pledge.
Yeah, the reason for that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I made the pledge to accept the salary of the lowest paid city worker.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to know how many people have told me, "Oh no, you can't do that. Yeah, no. How are you going to live? How are you going to pay? But Jen, how are you going to pay your bills?"
Really?
Well, guess what?
That's crazy.
That's the point.
Right.
That's the point.
That
if
is
it's
crazy.
good enough for a bus driver, if it's good enough for city staff, it is good enough for the mayor.
I read when you said that.
That it is good enough for the mayor. And I'll tell you, we're going to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have that conversation. And the fact of the matter is, I know what it's like. I've been a single mom for most of my adult life. You find a way to do it. You find a way. You don't live beyond your means. You know where you got to cut your budget to make sure that you can live, and it's hard. So I think bringing that kind of perspective, it's not gonna be where you're it's 20,000 here, 20,000 here. Oh, no big deal. No, we're talking about taxpayer money.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we are spending taxpayer money. And I'll tell you, I met with a city worker who said, her department is so underfunded, and now they're giving them more and more work to do and no increase in their pay. So, I know we have other departments who have a lot more money. They're spending a lot more money. Well, let's start figuring out where the need is. That's going to most benefit the community as a whole. And let's go line by line on the budget, and let's make sure that we are spending our taxpayers' money wisely.
Well, I read that was your first order of business. You're getting off his first day. You're gonna go.
Well, I always hear this is the thing. Every single commissioner when they run, it took me. I just got Helen Warren in 2017. I just kind of got a hold of the budget. I just figured out how this works. So give me another 3 years so I can. Wow. I'm like, look, it's going to be a priority. It's going to be a priority to make sure that we look at every dollar we spend and make sure that we are spending it wisely. Making sure that when we contract We're contracting with local companies. We're using local workers. You know, we cannot keep handing our future tax dollars to out-of-state developers. You know, we have developers here. We have local developers here where the money's going to get spent locally. It's going to go to local workers. Why, when they built the standard, were there crews from Texas, from South Carolina, you know, from Germany?
Yeah.
You know,
that should never be.
Yes, we should be employing people here. And then I heard somebody said, oh, no, but we don't have the workforce. We don't have the workforce to do those jobs. Why not? Why don't we have the workforce?
We
do. But you know, leads me into vocational. We have this push right now. You have to go to college. You have to go to college. Do you know how many people they went to college and then they're still making very, very little money? They're not even making enough money to pay off their debt. Okay, look. Who is the most important person in the room when your toilet's clogged? You know, it ain't your history professor. Okay, it's a plumber. We need to make sure that we have plumbers and we have electricians and we have painters and, you know, we have all these trades. There is no shame in being a tradesman. There's no shame.
And most of those trades,
and they pay well.
Yeah,
they pay well. You look
that.
and see how much a plumber makes.
Right,
they're making, and you know what? They deserve every penny.
Okay. In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
They're getting paid pretty well.
Yeah, my son's a painter now. I actually painted houses.
Nice.
After 2017,
Nice.
I became a painter, a house painter. And when I actually, you know, been trying to start a T-shirt company. I've got a screen printer.
Okay,
I taught myself how to screen print in June, and it's been an interesting learning curve. So, you know, that's something that's getting off the ground.
Did you do your own shirts?
Yes, I sure did.
Awesome.
So So when I went to start the screen printing, I realized that after painting in the heat in Florida all day long, there was nothing left of me to be able to work on the T-shirts. So I actually went and I'm working part-time at a law office right now.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I meant to mention that. I actually wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, but my son got my painting job.
Nice.
So my son, was just not the one who was going to be going to college. And he, you know, they made that decision, and so now he started off as an apprentice, and he is now a journeyman painter.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And I'm sure he'll do well.
Yeah, he is. He's 17. He's 17, and he's making a living wage. He works for the one of the only living wage certified painters in Gainesville.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's going to work hard, but he's going to be able to make a living.
Well, I'm gonna back up a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about all the different hats that you wear. You know, you're a business and office manager. You're which you're on your business there, right?
Yeah, that's where we're getting the 352 print shop. We're getting that off the ground.
Yes, ma'am. And then you're an accountant as well.
Actually, a bookkeeper. I've been an office manager and a bookkeeper. I know somebody misquoted me.
Okay, well,
somebody misquoted me in the Iguana as being an accountant, but I mean, basically, I was trained. I was trained by two accountants, and I just don't get the big bucks.
Well, no. What I wanted to ask was how all those different roles, how they'll help you in your journey here.
Okay, I was just talking to somebody about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I've worn many hats.
Yes,
I've been an office manager and a bookkeeper for the majority of my professional life, but I've been a silversmith apprentice. I worked at Pace Jewelers on 6th Street.
Wow.
I was a phlebotomist.
I was actually looking at your charm earlier.
Oh yeah, no, yes, we made this. And my ring, I made my ring too.
Just looking at that, I was actually, I wonder what the significance.
Yeah, it's a Volkswagen bus. I'm a huge. Actually, no, that one wasn't a Volkswagen.
It's not a Volkswagen? Okay,
no,
cool.
but still.
That's what I thought when I saw it.
Air-cooled Volkswagens are another one of my passions. I love the old buses and the Beatles.
Well, thank you for schooling me.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. All right.
Oh, well, real quick about the different hats. So I've been a phlebotomist. Mm-hmm. I worked at both of the plasma centers here in town. And, you know, all of these different jobs that I've had kind of opened my eyes. Like, when you work at the plasma center, you meet all kinds of different people.
I'd imagine.
All kinds of different people.
So.
You know, from professionals. You know, I met a guy one time who was donating plasma to pay off his car.
Nice.
Yeah, he donated for 4 years, earned $200, and his car payment was $180 a month. So he paid off his car donating plasma. You know, there was professionals, there were students, and then there was people who just needed that extra income. So at the plasma center, I met all kinds of different people. I'm working for different small businesses. I've seen the challenges that small businesses face. I've worked for really, really awesome, amazing people. And then I've worked for people who insisted on paying minimum wage with the highest turnover, which turnover costs a business money. Yeah. You know, when you're having to bring in new people and train them, that costs your business money. And I finally was able to tell my boss, look, pay, you know, this was, gosh, almost 12 years ago, 15 years ago. I was like, please pay $10 an hour instead of, you know, $7.50 like you're paying. You know, that was what minimum wage said. Yeah, and sure enough, guess what? The people he was bringing in at $10 an hour stayed. When you have an employee who's making $7.50, the second, or, you know, making minimum wage. So right now it's what, $8.40, I think. If you have somebody who's, you know, making that, they're going to leave as soon as they get more money. So bring people in at a higher wage, you're going to get better employees. Oh, here we go, the music in the background. Yeah.
But you're good.
Yeah, I won't sing.
Well, that's a good song. Like, that's one of my favorites. That's the bring up
the 90s.
Definitely. All right. I want to ask you, just moving back on to just your approach on equity, man. I think that is probably what's most striking about you. Just you're like everyday regular person, and
yeah.
And I just love that. But I wanted to ask you why in the city they have the Department of Doing.
Oh gosh.
And I want you to just explain why that should be remade into the Department of Urban Planning.
Yeah, so that's actually been my little running joke here. It's like, look, we're the city of Gainesville. We are not Nike Corporation. Okay, we cannot just do it. Okay?
Right.
We need to plan it. You know, planning, that's important. You know, when we're talking about our entire city changing, you know, when we're talking about, you know, building things and bringing, you know, different, you know, organizations or, you know, corporations or whatnot here, we need to make sure that what we're doing is not going to have a long-term negative effect. So, you know, trying to push things through without the data, with not evaluating the data.
It's absurd.
Yeah, it is, because then guess what? We're going to have to fix it. You know, and we cannot turn into Orlando or Jacksonville, you know, all these other cities. Like, we've got to learn from their mistakes. And, you know, we are going to need to, you know, start, you know, building up. You know, we are going to have to do that. But let's make sure that we're doing it the right way. You know, the corner of 13th and University, you know, you remember back in the days when it was, you know, like Wild Hair and Eckerd Drugs and all that, and then like Chinese Takeout and Burrito Bros on the corner, and then they tore it all down, and then they built new, and there was a Starbucks, and you know, some of the businesses tried to stay, and then they built that building from the ground, and then they tore it down, and then it sat there vacant.
Yeah.
You know, and then Burrito Brothers, they tried to keep evolving. They tried to keep up, and then everybody loved Burrito Brothers, and it's gone now. It's gone. He couldn't keep up. We have to think about the businesses that are here. We need to think about the residents that are here. The people, the businesses that have been here for years, they're getting to the point where they're no longer sustainable. They can no longer keep up with the astronomical electric bills. You know, commercial's higher. I didn't realize how much higher the rates are for commercial. You know, we've tore down whole city blocks, and look at what they put up there. Okay, we've had, when I ran in 2017, you drive down University Avenue and it's nothing but empty commercial space. That I noticed that in 2017.
Yeah.
Those buildings are still empty. Okay, yes, we have housing on top, but all that commercial space is empty. So why do we keep talking about building more and more and more if we can't even find people to move into the spots that are there?
Sheesh. You're spot on right there. Well, talk about, you mentioned two things I'm gonna go into real quick. You kind of mentioned them real quick. I mean, just now. But I want you to talk a little bit about bringing UF into our public utility.
Yes. That's something, you know, I went to teach in at UF. It was, you know, partnered with like Electrical County Labor Coalition and the student organization Divest UF. Okay. And there was a lot of different organizations there and speaking about a lot of different things. But there was a professor, and he was talking about how UF has made these pledges to bring the University of Florida to meet these renewable energy goals. Mm-hmm. They're missing them. They're right now. A lot of people don't know that UF is powered by Duke Energy. Mm-hmm. Okay, Duke Energy is a for-profit company, and they most of their energy comes from natural gas. So, we need to start having that conversation. They have been having the conversation here or there, but, the last time that their contract was up, GRU didn't even make an official proposal. So when we do start having this conversation, and I know even the UAB, even the Utility Advisory Board is now talking about this too. But when we do start having this conversation, we need to make sure that, we're not giving more away to the University of Florida. We need to have them on our grid. They are located within the city of Gainesville. A lot of people are not happy. If UF can choose to have power from someone else, why can't I? If we could bring UF, onto our grid, like that could help. Kind of balance our budget.
I love that.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had, and it has kind of come up here or there over the last few years. But why isn't it on the top of the list? Right. We are having major budget issues. The city has made some terrible mistakes. They got involved with a corporation. And we got the biomass plant, and what we should have done back then is the city should have built it, the city should have owned it, but instead we got into a really bad contract and we ended up having to buy out of it. And now we're finding out that yes, we saved some money with the contract, but the fact is that we're having trouble paying it now, and that those costs are being passed down to regular people. And you know what? The people at the top aren't going to feel it as much as the people on the bottom. Wow. So if we could get the University of Florida onto our grid, that could help us. But we got to make sure that we're really, really conscious of the taxpayers' money that we're spending. And we need to make sure that the people who are already suffering are not suffering more. We're constantly, they're talking about even like raising property taxes, and they're talking about raising bills. They're talking about cutting the general fund transfer. We need to make sure that that's what we need to do. And I'll tell you, budget time, if I'm mayor, budget time, we are going to have a conversation. We are going to make sure that people understand what's happening. And we're going to make sure that city staff, the people who are making this city run, have their say and are part of the dialogue. Because that's what I keep hearing from people who work for the city, is that they're just not being heard. You hear that the citizens who show up to commission meetings, and you hear, regular people, they're not being heard. But when you find out that staff is not being heard, it is. And we have a huge problem with employee morale. Well, if you're working somewhere and you're not being given the proper tools, or you're being asked to do more, and with no promise of pay, I keep finding out their health insurance keeps getting higher and higher. Why can't we maybe partner with the county, and work together to like lower our healthcare? We passed a thing in back in 2007 for Alachua County Choices. Alachua County Choices Healthcare. That was the most amazing healthcare.
I remember Choices.
Yes, I had Choices.
I'm working at Wendy's. I had Choices.
Yes, I had Choices too. And I'll tell you, it was $5 co-pays. $20 if you needed to see a specialist or something. But that went away because everybody thought that the Affordable Care Act was going to be the save-all. But of course, Florida didn't accept the money. So then all those people who relied on that for their health care no longer have health care. So, if we could partner with the county and do something about getting everybody, like the city and the county, on the same health care plan, or if we could bring another ordinance or whatever to the voters and get something like that passed again. We can't rely on the federal government to fix everything. The Affordable Care Act, it was great. A lot of people have insurance now that could never be insured before. But, we can do something on a local level so we don't have to wait, for the federal government to do it. Yeah, and we've done it before. It was great. The only problem with Choices, so many people didn't know about it. So many people didn't know about it. I'll tell you, I signed like 6 people up in the last 6 months of the program. You know, and it's like, why was it left to us to educate people? Like, why wasn't there a better marketing plan to let people know that there was this amazing program?
Well, I want to bring up a dirty word real quick. I read that you had some plans for, which is gentrification.
Yeah. Oh no. Some plans to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Could you kind of take it from there? I know you wanted to do. You had some, I thought, interesting plans on that.
Well, you know, we have to consider. You know, we have to consider like a lot of these neighborhoods. You know, we're losing a lot of neighborhoods, and people are being pushed out because they can no longer afford to live there. You know, Porter's Quarters is in the path of what the University of Florida, you know, wants to do. Right. And, you know, we need to make sure that we are protecting these historically black neighborhoods. You know, we need to make sure that we are not going to push people out, because that's what's been happening. You know, Fifth Avenue, you know, Pleasant Street, it's happening. Mm-hmm. And we need to make sure that we are not allowing some of these, you know, wealthy developers, and a lot of them sometimes come from out of state or, you know, down from South Florida. We need to make sure that we're not allowing these people to profit off the backs of the poor, you know, and we have to make sure that these changes are not going to push people out of their neighborhoods. There's people who were born in their homes, who have lived there, right. You know, and why aren't we having these conversations? You know, why? When changes come to the city, a lot of the times you find out after it's done. Yeah. And then you have to go, oh, wait, no, but we had this meeting and we had this meeting. Well, you know what? If you're working and you're taking care of your family, sometimes you can't show up to the meeting. But it's the year 2019. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have it available online? Right. You know, easily accessible. Why can't we educate people, send out text messages or emails and say, hey, you know, this is happening in your neighborhood. You know, you need to be a part of it. And it's supposed to. When there's changes to the plan, they're supposed to go and notify the neighbors, you know, the neighborhoods. And what we found on Pleasant Street is that didn't happen. You know, that didn't happen. There were changes come in, and people didn't get letters in the mail. So, you know, we need to make sure that we're following the process, and we need to make sure that we are improving it. And, you know, citizen input is important. You know, the people who are currently on the commission, they were elected by a very small number of people. We generally have between 11 and 14% of voters come out to vote, of all registered voters. 11 to 14% of the people are making the decisions. So it's not a mandate. Yeah. You know, so when the commissioners sit up there and are like, I was the one elected, well, only a few people came out to vote, and you didn't knock on the non-super voters' doors. So, you know, if we had more people turn out to vote, maybe we would have different
the Powell outcomes. Is actually with the people.
Yeah, if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same thing.
You said that. Well, let me real quick just announce, you know, different methods and ways of voting. As you mentioned earlier, early voting actually started today.
Yes.
March 9th. So it will be ending, I think, on the 16th.
Yes.
And I know at the Rights Union you can go vote now, and at the library.
That's actually new. The Rights Union this will be the first time that there is an early voting location on campus.
Nice.
So maybe we'll have a little higher than 14% turnout this time.
Hopefully. Well, all the other locations are online at votealachua.com. You can also vote on Election Day, which is March 19th. Mm-hmm. And then my preferred way to vote is voting by mail.
Yes.
That's only because you can actually take the time, you know, to sit at the dinner table and lay it all out. And,
yes.
You know, do your research on whatever you want to do. But again, the method doesn't matter. Just make sure that you vote.
You know what? No, don't just vote. Go take your friends and your family and your coworkers, and you go take them all to vote.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Because again, that has been the Achilles heel, I'd say, for a lot of the interests that's coming out of the communities as far as voting goes. Mm-hmm. When we turn out, we usually win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just pretty much what it comes down to.
Yep.
So that's one of the biggest things. I want you to kind of briefly, because we're all running out of time.
Yeah, it goes by quick.
Very fast. You have some ideas for having a more responsible and accountable government.
Yes.
I want you to talk about that a little bit, and also protecting our children's future. It's quickly as you can. I know it's a lot.
So, an accountable government, there's processes that are supposed to be followed. And, the citizens are actually supposed to be at the top of the organizational chart. It's supposed to be the citizens, and then the commissioners, and then the charter officers and the staff. And for the past, however many years, it kind of seems like that's been all, backwards. Yeah. So we need to make sure that, the citizens are being heard. When people show up, that it's actually being considered. We have to make sure that we're making decisions with the proper data. We need to make sure that, that the processes are being followed. We can't keep having all these deals which seem like they're made, in the back rooms. Like, we have sunshine laws for a reason. The decisions are supposed to be made in the sunshine, and we need to make sure that that's happening. We need to make sure every meeting is televised or live streamed. We have the technology to do that. We need to make sure that that we're following the rules. That we're doing things the way they need to be doing. The way to find out that your neighborhood is about to change is not by having a bright yellow sign pop up, in your neighborhood, and then, that's how you find out, there's a meeting at this time, or, these major changes. People read about it in the Gainesville Sun, and it's too late.
Yeah. It's
too late. It just seems like, sometimes, we've got this feel-good legislation, and that just gets pushed through, and it's not taking into consideration the people who it's maybe going to, it's going to affect the most.
Yeah.
I know, I've been told that I was the anti-environment candidate because I wasn't for the plastics ban. No, I'm for a plastics ban, but let's make sure that it's not going to impact, small businesses. We need to talk about how are we going to make sure that they can keep up and they can buy the reusable or renewable products.
Right.
Like, we could maybe do like a bulk buying program, like the city could help make that happen, where these small businesses aren't going to be the ones penalized for for following the law, the law. So it's just I'd like to make sure that more people are considered, and more people are coming to the table, and we're starting to have meetings about affordable housing. We're starting to have all these meetings about all these things, but we need to make sure that people who are the ones who need it the most are the ones that we're talking to. Let's find out what are the obstacles keeping people from finding homes to live in. For years, it's been hard. Rents are increasing way higher than wages are, and we need to talk to those people. What are the obstacles that are stopping them? And we need to make sure that they're a part of that conversation. And then we need to really define what affordable means. Affordable, with the Gainesville Rise plan that they were pushing through, affordable wasn't affordable to the people I know. So that's something to think about. And, we need to be utilizing the money that's there, the money that comes from the state, the Sadowski Fund, the SHIP money that comes in. I'm on the Affordable Housing SHIP board. And, we only met a handful of times last year. There was no business.
Wow.
So we didn't even meet. And,
that's
there's money that is there, but it's like, are we utilizing it to help the most amount of people? I lived in public housing in 2008 and 2009. I lived in public housing. I know how it works, and I know how it doesn't work.
Right.
I know how when you get in there, it's almost impossible to get out. And so we could be utilizing this money not as a permanent solution, but as a stepping stone to get people, out. Like, I know so many people who lived in public housing at the same time I did. And you know what? They're still there.
Yeah. They're
still there because the system's designed to keep you in it.
This is cycle, you're right. You're right. I just want to applaud you for, on behalf of the community, just for running, and for all of your brilliant, I think, strategies and just your whole approach. I really want to just thank you on that standpoint.
Well, you are welcome, and you can thank me on election day.
That'd be the best way, right?
Yeah.
Any closing remarks?
Yeah, no, I just, please get out to vote. Take your friends to get out to vote. Tell them how important it is. We can't wait 3.5 years to have real change. We can't wait for apologies and campaign promises that are often forgotten after election day. Yeah. We need change. We need change, and we need to change the conversation. And we need to make sure that, that this city is working for everybody. So my phone number is on my website. That's my personal cell phone number. Wow. My personal email is on there. I'll tell you, when I ran in 2017, I had a campaign email. It was such a disaster to keep up with more than one email. I just said, I'm going to use my personal email. That's so, good. If anybody has any questions about anything I talked about, or, thinks that there's something that I need to focus on, or something, I've forgotten, please call me. Please call me, please email me. I'm going to be available. If I don't call you, if I don't answer, leave me a message. But, it's going to take the community coming together and saying, like, look, we want real change, and we want it now. And we can win. We can win on March 19th if everybody who believes in what I'm saying, if everybody who is living that struggle comes out and votes, then we can win. We won't have to go to a runoff, okay? The runoff election will be on April 30th. That's going to be a whole nother month of campaigning. Yeah, let's win it out. Let's win it out right in March 19th.
Well, to Jenn Powell, ladies and gentlemen, for more information, I want you guys, you can check her out at Jenn Powell. That's with 2 N's. Jenn Powell, 4 Gainesville, the number 4, .com. As well as Jenn Powell for Mayor on Facebook too,
yes,
right?
Jenn Powell for Mayor on Facebook. One of my team members is handling Twitter and Instagram. I'm not sure, but I think it's you can find all those links on my website. It will take you right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think my daughter might even have a Snapchat. So.
Well, okay. As well as, just like we mentioned before, Election Day, make sure you go out March 19th.
Take your friends.
You can start voting today.
Today, yes, till 5 o'clock, I believe, today.
Cool. Got 58 minutes. And then, again, for the locations on early voting, votealachua.com, and everything's there. You can even track your ballot on there. Shout out to Miss Kim Barton, too, man, because she's doing an amazing job over there. And I just want to say thanks again, man.
Thank you so much for having
me.
These are fun, and I can't believe an hour went by so fast.
We didn't get to the hip-hop questions, but we'll do that next time.
All right.
Don't go nowhere. Y'all keep it locked right here, WBT 94.1 from the beat. Jenn Powell, ladies.
Thanks.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, we didn't get to other stuff. Okay, can I come back next week?
Oh, man.